Hello fifth graders, it's Mrs. Tremblay and we are going to look at decimal place values today, and basically we want to be able to say them and write them today. That's it. So we're in Unit 2, Lesson 4, and this should look familiar. This is the place value chart that you have, but I just went up to millions in this so that you could fit it into your spiral. So anyhow, this is very similar to what we did before, except I now have some values that are to the right of this decimal point, and we want to be able to say these properly. The first thing you should know is that anytime you see a decimal point, that's when we say the word and. So go ahead and make all caps and. It's the only time you need to use that word, when you're saying numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at these values I have in here. We're going to put the commas where they go, and on the lines, we're going to write each representation. So first off, here's my decimal point, right? When I go to put my commas in, I'm gonna start right here, and I want every 3 digits in a chunk to have a comma. So 1, 2, 3, that comma should go right there. Let's do that for this one as well. So here's my decimal point. I want 1, 2, 3, and then I don't need one there. I don't need a comma at all here. And here, 1, 2, 3, one would go there. 1, 2, 3, one would go there. You don't put commas on the right side of the decimal point. So you're not really going to go beyond the thousands anyhow, but if I had another number right here, you would not put a comma on the right-hand side. You won't see that. All right, so for letter A, first off, we're going to do this side just like we've been doing, right? So you just look at the chunk, see where the number ends, and that's the place that it's in. So the first chunk in front of the comma, I just see 3. So on the line we can write 3, and then put our comma. And now, instead of having another comma here, we have a decimal point. That's going to separate this next chunk. So what do you see here? I see 528. And remember, we don't have to say 528 ones. We would just say 528. So let's write that. And it's not 528, it's just 528. And now I'm going to put a comma. I'm separating it. I wouldn't put a decimal point in my in my written representation. Now, on the opposite side, I read this chunk just the way it is, and I follow the same format. I see a 9, right? Nothing else. And this 9 is in the tens place. So I would say, right here, there was this decimal point, right? I'm going to say and. That's how I represent that the decimal point goes there, 9/10. Okay, now for the next one, same thing. I'm going to start over here. Here's my first chunk. I see in this first chunk 428, and 428 what? 1,000. 428,000. So I'm going to write that on the line. $428,000, comma. That was our first chunk, right? Now in my next chunk of 3 numbers, I just see a 4. And it's 4 ones, so I wouldn't say 4 ones, I would just say 4. Now after this 4, don't we have a decimal point? What word do we put? And. So, and what do we have in this last little chunk here? I see the number 32. So we have 32, and 32 what? Well, the 2, the last digit there, is in the hundredths place. So I would say and 32 hundredths. And it's 100 with a th. All right, we're on letter C. And again, you can always pause this. Now in front of the decimal point, I just see a 0. And I don't have to say 0 and. I don't have to start my sentence with the word and, because that would just be silly. So when there's nothing really of value on the left-hand side, we're just going to look at this chunk. 019, I see that number would be 19, right? So there's 19, and 19 what? Follow that last digit up. That 9 is in the thousands place. So I would say 19 thousandths. And that's 1,000 with a th. 19 thousandths. All right, and I saved the best one for last, of course. All right, so going from left to right, the first chunk, I just see the number 1, and it's 1 what? 1 million. So let's write 1 million, comma, because there's a comma right there. And the next chunk, I see the number 300. But 300 what? Follow that last digit in front of the comma up, and it's 1,000, right? So 300,000. Comma. Okay, so we did the 1, we did the 300. Our next chunk I see is 250, and it's 251s. We don't have to say 251s, we can just say 250. Comma. Now there's a decimal point here, right? What do we put? And. That's the only place you need the word and when we're writing out these numbers, is where the decimal is. And what do we have in our chunk to the right of the decimal point? 182, that would be 182, but 182 what? Follow that last digit up, thousandths. So, and 182 thousandths. All right, thanks for watching. You're all set.